Hey, friend, Church D coming at you once again. Thank you for tuning into What Does It Take to Win? I hope you're doing well. Daylight savings recently happened, so we had to spring ahead, meaning my wife and I are getting even less sleep with two small children. So say a quick prayer for us or send us some mushroom coffee. But hey, I just wanted to remind you that I have a lot of really awesome content that you can tap into simply by clicking the link in the description. My most recent project entitled Transitions is available on every platform in which you listen to music. I'm still producing, I'm still making beats and instrumentals. You can go ahead and download any type of instrumental that you need. I have over 150 that are available right now for download. If you're into podcasting or any type of directing or whatever that case may be, and you need an instrumental, go right ahead and download that. If you're looking for a producer, you can go ahead and book me. If you're looking for a musician, you can book me simply by clicking the link in the description. I'm also offering a free loop pack, percussion loop pack. So if you are a musical director, a bassist, drummer, keyboardist, pianist, whatever the case may be, guitarist, and let's say you lead a band and you want to add some percussive elements to make your sound fuller and keep the team on time, you can go ahead and download my free loop pack. I also have some other great products available as well on just by clicking the link in the description. So let's go ahead and connect and access all of my content there. All right, let's go ahead now and jump into the topic of the hour. Let's jump right in. The title of this episode is simply going to be Let's Create Our Own Lane. Okay. And the reason why this came to me was I was able to, not able to, but I was sort of watching some individuals who are really gifted. They're gifted mentally and intellectually, and they're even gifted with their hands, but they're not being used to their full capacity. And it's simply because the ones that they are under or around, they don't really know quite how to deal with them or how to handle them. And just after observing them, I said to myself, I believe that they'll do a lot better once they create their own lane. So again, that's the title of this episode. Let's create our own lane. So these days, nothing is ever set in stone or secure, right? Job security does not exist like it used to once upon a time. Friendships aren't necessarily what they're portrayed to be. Those who you think may have your back might actually be trying to get a one-up on you. Or simply put, use you for their own personal gain. Maybe you're often overlooked, misunderstood, taken for granted, or even misused. What do we do when we're not considered for a promotion or elevation? What do we do when we're skipped over? What do we do when we're believed to not be good enough? Well, my solution is we create our own lane and we thrive in it. I want to use 3 points to answer this question. And the question simply is, why should we create our own lane? The 3 points that I have are, number 1, legacy. Number 2, security. And finally, number 3, success. Again, I'll say it one more time. The question is, why should we create our own lane? Legacy, security, and success. So let's start with the first point of legacy. If we're paying close enough attention to the world around us, I'd say we'll notice that business and businesses are directly connected to legacy, right? When I was in college, many of my classmates were simply there to get a degree so they can be validated when they take over mommy and daddy's companies, right? And oftentimes they'd be getting degrees that would be obsolete by the next year. But simply put, they were just, they had the degree so their parents could make sure that they were protected and that they could at least say they were capable of running the employees and running the company, right? There's a gentleman that I've known for about 13 or 14 years. I want to say a few years back, I was able to witness him help his youngest son, who was probably not even 30 yet. He opened up a business for himself, right? His father helped his youngest son, right? So the man, he performs a service business, right? And he sent his son to college to get a degree in business. It wasn't like a super duper advanced degree. And, to be quite honest, I don't think it took a lot of work to even earn that degree. No shade to him, no shade to anybody who's earning degrees. I have a degree myself. So, but, if we call a spade, some of these degrees really, they're not that difficult to earn. That's besides the point. So yeah, he performs a service business. He sent his son to college to get a degree. And then once his son completed that a few years later, he helped his son to open up his own business. This type of business that his son opened up is actually closely related to what he, as the father, does. It's closely related to the service that he provides. So they actually work together. And once his father is, no longer able to perform his service business and he's too old or he just simply wants to retire, now his son has his own business that will continue to run and grow. And he can now pass that down to his own children, right? You might not be good at opening up business. You might not be great at managing money or even opening up a company or performing services. You might not necessarily have the knowledge on how to make this work. But I would say the bare minimum thing you can do actually to secure your legacy is to invest, right? Simply start by setting your kids up with money for the future, open up an account, let it grow interest as they grow older. You, your spouse, the children, you can all figure out what to do with that money. And how to get a better return on investment and really protect your legacy and build generational wealth. Okay. That was a bit of a mouthful for, my first point of legacy, but I really wanted to drive that home. The second point is security, right? So as I mentioned, opening up, jobs are not very secure. I remember being fresh out of college and watching an employee get fired on the spot, right? This employee, normal commute to work, got settled in at their desk, began to perform the daily tasks. And by 10 o'clock in the morning, they were being escorted out by the company's security. And I'm sure this particular individual, honestly, they were older. So they were probably at that company for, my guess, 15 to 20 years. But just like that, their job was over. And the best thing the employers could have said to them, or the best thing they could do, is just wish them luck while they're trying to collect unemployment benefits in pursuit of hopefully landing another job. Once you create your own lane, nobody can fire you from it because they are not the ones who employed you. They're not the ones who hired you, right? For example, I'll use myself. All that I do, every service that I perform, all of the content that I create, I could never be fired from that, right? So if somebody reaches out to me and says, hey, I need you for this engagement, and let's say that engagement falls through, I can secure another engagement that same day, possibly that same hour. I can't be fired from that. Creating this podcast, I can't be fired from this. Creating my loop packs, creating music, I can't be fired from that. So you just would want to find something that's within your lane and create it and just be successful at it. You will be successful at it, which is actually a good segue into my third and final point of success. Now, you'll see more success because you're doing what you actually love. You don't have to get up every day and work for somebody else's dream or vision. You're now working for your dream, and that's what's most fulfilling. You're working for your own dream. Your motivation towards your goals will be much higher. In fact, there have been many studies and many articles, that I found on Google, of course, that confirms that motivation is actually good for success. It enhances success. It boosts productivity, resilience, and focus. And then there's different types of motivation. We have intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. So basically intrinsic motivation is just driven by, something that you love doing, driven by your passion, something that comes from within. It's internal, right? And extrinsic is obviously external. So it's driven by getting a reward or a higher amount of money, obviously. And that's the motivation that you're going to need in order to really drive your success, right? And obviously, there'll be days where you might feel like giving up because it is indeed a lot of work and it might not be as easy all the time as you would like for it to be. But I could suggest that a simple trick is to find a way to work smarter so you don't have to use up all of your energy working hard. And, I could be transparent and, use myself as an example for my intrinsic and extrinsic motivators that are driving me to my own success. So my intrinsic motivation is I love to create, right? I believe that I was created to create. So anything I can build from the ground up, it motivates me, it drives me to want to do it and to not give up. My extrinsic motivation is my family. I love to see the look on my kids' faces. I love to see the look on my wife's face when I'm successful at whatever it is that I'm doing. And I like to know that I'm successful in helping my family, in providing for my wife and 2 children, so that none of them are ever going to have to struggle. So my wife won't even have to put money towards any bills, right? She's not going to have to worry about, what we're going to eat or how we're going to afford our living expenses, or as simple as putting gas in the car. She never has to worry about that. And by the grace of God, she never will have to worry about that. And I look at my 2 small children and I'm setting them up for success rather than failure. I'm not setting them up with debts. I'm setting them up with, a good starting point of investments. So by the time they reach a certain age, they're already ahead of the game and winning. They're successful. And that, my friends, is my third and final point. So we can go ahead and wrap up this episode. I didn't want to drag it out as long as I dragged out the others, but hopefully you were able to get from this some gems that you can apply to your daily life. So let's do a quick recap of the 3 points that answer the question of why should we create our own lane. So the first point is legacy. Set your kids up for success. The second point is security. No job is secure, and you can't be fired from what you're creating. And the third and final point is success. Whether the motivation is intrinsic or extrinsic, you'll reach success faster because you're doing what you love. Thanks for tuning into this episode, and most importantly, thanks for tuning into this podcast. I really, really appreciate you. Hey, don't forget to share this with somebody that you know, love, and you're concerned about. Or you can share it with somebody that you're not even concerned about. But be sure to share it. Like, comment, and share. Also, click the link in the description. I have many more great things in store for you. Let's connect. God bless.